So I'm very happy tonight to have Tony Wright and Julia Friedman here. They both run galleries here in Chicago. Tony's gallery is called Bodybuilder and Sportsman Gallery. Julia's is called Julia Friedman Gallery. This is the last in our series called In and Out of Chicago, Conversations with Young Cultural Producers. If there are some of you who've been here to most of them, maybe you'll have some questions about how they come together. And there was a suggestion at one point that we do a kind of wrap up, but I think we'll just leave that to personal conversations. So what we're going to do tonight is I'm going to introduce our guests, and then they will do some short presentations with images about their spaces, and then we'll go into questions. So tonight we have Julia Friedman, who has been involved with for-profit and non-profit art entities for over 10 years. In 1998, she initiated an arts management and curatorial venture working with international artist museums and galleries worldwide. That experience built the foundation for her gallery, which she opened in May 2001, and it features an extensive cross-section of work by emerging and mid-career artists positioned throughout the US, Asia, Central and South America, and Europe. And Tony Wright's gallery is a little bit different. It was founded in 1997, right? Mm-hmm. And in 2000 is when you moved to the West. Right. So in 2000, he moved Bodybuilder and Sportsman from Division Street to the West Loop and transformed it from an artist-run space into a commercial gallery. And over the last 3 years, the gallery's garnered considerable attention, widespread press coverage, and participation in important international art fairs, including the 2004 ARCO exhibition in Spain, which Julia was also participating in. And he's also in the upcoming Armory show in New York, and maybe part of our discussion will have something to do with art fairs. So those of you who don't know what they are or what they do, you can learn a little bit more. So thank you so much for being here. Maybe Julia, you'll go first.
Sure. Thank you. I felt very lucky that I had a lot of interest in art early on. So starting when I was a kid, I used to drag my parents to the Columbus Museum of Art or the Wexner Center. And it's always been really clear to me that that's what I wanted to focus on. So when I was 5, I wrote in a little book about what I wanted to do, the word art. And so I feel really lucky that that's been clear to me. And in college, I studied fine arts and art history. And I spent a summer in Europe at this place called Work Camp. And it's basically like a mini Peace Corps thing in Europe. And at the time, I was in Prague and going to Denmark, and someone told me about Documenta, which I didn't know what it was at the time, but I checked it out, and it really changed everything for me. It made me very interested in the art that was happening in the current moment, and I was less interested in the historical context of art and more interested in finding out what was happening in the moment. So that was really important for me. And then I moved to Chicago shortly after college and started working out of my apartment in Wicker Park. And I was basically looking for opportunities to bring artists in from overseas. So again, my trip to Europe, I was there, I was looking at artist studios. I was kind of wandering around trying to figure out what was going on in the art world there, and actually put like notes on artist doors asking them to send me materials, which is really like a bizarre way to get artists. Actually, it doesn't work, but I was 18 and it just seemed like something I should do. So I actually got a few replies, and I moved to Chicago, I don't know, probably 8 years ago. And so my experience from that summer kind of led into my interest, and I was curating small projects and working with different organizations and trying to figure out like what exactly I wanted to do. So that led into this art management project where I would help out artists who, a lot of them were just friends of mine at the time, and I would help them with their press materials and getting together packets for shows and things like that. And later that led into working for some museums that the artists had projects with already, so the museum would hire me to facilitate the projects. So after that, I decided that something else in terms of a gallery space would help me build like more of a presence for the artists in the community, and also have a physical space that would help artists sell their works, and it would help me solidify presence in a city. So that's when I decided to open.
You want to show some images from the website, or do you want to wait?
I can wait. I think that.
Well, my story is a bit different, as I assume everyone's how they got to where they are. I came to Chicago about 11 years ago, and I came from California. I have a degree in biology, and never expected to be running a gallery. It's something that sort of happened to me, or allowed to happen to me. I came to town. I went to the School of the Art Institute in undergrad, and graduated in '94 and worked as art mover for Icon. Some of you drove trucks to New York for a while. I moved into the original bodybuilder space in '96 or '7. At the time, a friend of mine, Tim Brower, had lived there for a number of years, and after about a year there, we decided to open up the front of the gallery, of the storefront as a gallery space. We moved our studios out, and it was probably about 15 feet within this. I'll show you the slide, but it's just all glass front and then 3 walls. Our original intent was to show our friends' work, basically people who we went to school with who weren't getting any opportunities locally, and we would be open just Saturdays only, have an opening, and it was kind of like an apartment space of sorts. That was in the summer of '97, and as time went on, a lot of the galleries locally, not-for-profits, the really big ones like Randolph Street Gallery and Name Gallery, were closing. So we started to get a little more attention because they were not on the scene anymore. Though we never had that. That wasn't our mission necessarily to take over or do anything like that. But New Art Examiner, the magazine, was around at the time. We got some reviews there. We got a review in Art Forum and Art in America, which totally surprised us. Tim Brower, who again I started the gallery with, got married, moved away, and then the building was condo, sold, and coincidentally the space I'm in now had opened up, so I moved in there and decided to try to make it a more viable, commercially viable space. At the time I worked for the School of the Art Institute as the director of Gallery 2 for a number of years, and I left that position just over 2 years ago to focus on the gallery full-time. So it's been a sort of an organic growth process. Biology, art, business, I guess.
Do you want to show the slides now?
Yeah.
Or? Yeah.
Might as well. I mean, there's no. So I'll show you. Actually, let's go back one. This is. I don't know if Jennifer Reeder remembers this, but this was a part of a show. This is in our behind the front wall of the gallery space at the Division 1925 Division Street. There was a show called All Girls, All Live. It was put together with Jennifer Reeder and Sarah Yurtsin. And in the back we had a kissing booth. For $1 you could have a kiss with one of the artists in the show. This got a lot of attention by the local, the neighbors and the police. It was quite fun. I don't know what else to say about that. This is a piece, an installation by Mark Clarkson, where he converted the gallery space into what he called a sort of 18 to 20-year-old guy's room. And he had a film projection, had a lot to do with, well, he was trying to make this narrative of the film and about sort of this white trash kind of trailer park existence, and people could come in and use the microwave, drink beers, and watch the film, hang out. And then this is the current space. This is a show by Diana Guerrero Maciá, who actually had work here at Gallery 400. This show was last May. This is the project room. It's about 7 feet by 21 feet, and often I do video projections or small curated, or allow people to curate shows for back there. It's a very versatile space for that. And actually, this is a plug for the upcoming show. This is Robin O'Neill's work, who's went to school here a couple years ago, and she's in the Whitney Biennial this year, and the show opens on the 19th. So it's short and sweet.
Fantastic. Okay, well, I prepared a set of questions, and as I've done in all of these, I've tried to assume interest that you might have, but I'm always ready to encourage you to ask your own questions. Of course, we've got this very short histories of your space, but I wanted to ask you if there was a particular direction or orientation for your gallery in terms of the work that you show, or work that you're interested in, or what you think your gallery's purpose or goals are, if there's something you see as a kind of guiding force.
Well, to start, we're focused on international contemporary art. Sounds very generic, but I'm interested in having the Chicago and U.S. premiere for a lot of emerging artists, so it's one focus.
Mm-hmm. But within those artists, is there a particular kind of work that you like, or is it as broad and wide as?
It's pretty broad. I mean, there's usually a conceptual bent to the work, but visually it's pretty varied.
Yeah, I was going to say my program is, just as the gallery kind of grew out of nothing, and I think my program, it certainly reflects my own interests and my own aesthetic taste. And the things that I like are things with more of a conceptual side to them. I'm not focused on any particular media. Humor is a big part of it. Sometimes sexual elements. And in some ways, I guess the gallery is in some ways an extension of my own just sort of creative endeavor, like when I was an artist or trying to be. I think a lot of those things are part of that now. Also, though, the things that I made when I was trying to be an artist, the things that I show are opposite that. They're the things that interested me, but that I never felt like I was at a point that I could actually pursue.
Like, what's an example?
Well, like when I was making work, it had to do with the materials is like painting or paint used as sculptural media, and trying to make very formal decisions, like the golden section, the golden mean, and sort of make my own language. So and now I think a lot of the work that you see is more popular cultural referenced, and these are things that I always saw and admired and was curious about, but never quite fully understood because of my own investigations. And so now I kind of like open myself up to that and bring that into inform what I know.
Does anybody want to ask a question related to that, or should I go ahead? Oh, so quiet. Get up there. Call on you guys. Did you have a question? You look like you're ready. Okay, so we know that you show artists, and I guess a pressing question for a lot of people who are artists is to know how it is that you look at work, or how you find the artists that you're interested in. What are the methods or strategies you use? And give us some kind of examples of how you came upon some artists that you're interested in.
Well, like I said before, I was just knocking on random studio doors in Europe for a while, but that was not too fruitful. So
were those people you saw in shows in
Europe?
Europe?
You know,
or
like they
how
have
did
little
you...
enclaves of studios in different cities, and there are artists that are there just to create work, and they're really focused at the time. So, I mean, now I actually make studio visits and I schedule visits, and it's a lot more formal than just knocking on doors.
But how do you decide who to have a studio visit with?
Well, like whenever I travel anywhere, like in the States or outside, I try to make a point to visit studios, and I guess I ask people that I know in those cities maybe for ideas, or I'll look on the web, which has been a great resource to find certain residency programs.
And the people that you ask, are those other gallerists, or are they other artists, or?
Both. Friends, colleagues. But I guess I do a lot of research on the net, and that's, I guess, different for galleries existing today than 20 years ago. So that's a primary resource. And then I guess once you find the art, it's just a matter of like timing, and if you can actually visit them, or through email they send images or things like that.
Is it similar for you, Tony, or
Well,
a bit
certainly. I
different?
think what Julia's talking about in terms of having a group of people that you know and trust, opinions, be it the artists you already work with, gallery people you've met from wherever, curators such as yourself. In different cities, different people sort of become known as artists, and when you go to a place and you ask somebody, who should I take a peek at, they're going to recommend somebody, and then you're going to go take a look. It's difficult to just find out of the blue someone in a studio somewhere. And how are you going to find them? They're going to send you slides, send you a web page. But usually you're going to check with someone in that who knows them or has heard of them, and get their take on it before you make that appointment.
And are there criteria that you give people, or they know what your taste is, or are there certain things you're looking for when you're researching?
Well, actually, I don't ask people for their opinion on who to see. I just like to know where to go to find the artist. So, like these residency programs, it's not someone's taste. They don't say specifically which artist. It's just a general region where I might go. But I try not to ask people for particular ideas. I'd rather go in with a fresh mind.
But don't you think that if the person's in a residency program, it's already gotten approval?
Right. Yeah. Certainly. That's
So
true.
like they have to have gotten some notoriety somewhere, somehow, by someone's choice. Otherwise, they wouldn't come to your radar.
Yeah. But I mean, the function of the residency program is to be open and accessible for people like us to visit. So.
Yeah. So on some levels, there's a particular tier that they've already, a certain hurdle they've crossed to get to this point, and then that brings their attention to us.
Yeah. I mean, it works other ways. Like artists definitely come to us as well, and send slides, and that's a great way to see work too.
So just a kind of glimpse into what you do generally, maybe you could just tell us the wide range of things you might do on a day-to-day basis. Like we know that you're presenting work, but obviously as a gallerist you're connecting to collectors and artists and a general public, and like today, what was going on with you?
Well, yeah, answering phone calls. I met with some curators, and people randomly walked in. I took them around the gallery. I was dealing with Federal Express shipment for our show next week, sending customs forms. I'm managing a project that opens tonight in Australia, actually, so that was part of my emailing. And yeah, just sending out press releases for our next show. I was supposed to clean up a little bit, clean the floor, but didn't do that yet. So, yeah.
You do everything. Clean the floor, do the FedEx, answer the phone.
Yeah, it's pretty much everything.
But you don't.
Well,
What were you doing
I woke
today?
up. I live at the gallery, so it's very, very easy to just sort of take a shower and wake up, answer some emails. And let's see, I'm preparing for the Armory show, so I'm trying to get my list of the artworks together to the shipper, and to then get the checklist, and then make sure that what's going to be in New York will be there. that from New York is going to be on time. This is that kind of stuff. I have a show that opens the week after I get back, so there's the press for that, the designing the card. I do the layout and send it to the. Do you do the layout too? Yeah. Once you got the template sorted, you just. That's how I work.
I would love not to. I'm not.
Oh,
a
there's so
designer.
many things I wish I didn't have to do. Then I have interns who come in, and today it's one of those things where I find it hard to. By the time it takes me to explain what needs to be done and how to do it, I could have almost done it. And so I find that those are some of the things I have to do.
We're both probably following up from ARCO also. It's like a lot of people that we met that we have to correspond with, send them packages.
Yeah, sending out images, people email, do you have any work, any new work by so-and-so? Scan slides and send them out. Try to, make a sale so you can pay your rent and then go to the next one.
So, obviously from ARCO, you're going to meet collectors who go specifically to an art fair to see young artists or new galleries or things like that. But what are the different ways that you meet collectors or that you make contact with them or connect with them?
Well, there's usually a mutual interest and respect, which is like the baseline for the relationship with artists and collectors and curators, everyone in the business, I think. So you usually somehow find out who the collectors are that might fit with the work that you're selling, and sometimes they come to you, sometimes you seek them out. At art fairs, it's great because they definitely come to you, and a lot of times, it's the first introduction, and you may not see them again, but hopefully you build a relationship with them that's a long-term thing, and it's really, it could last years, and it's really helpful to build those relationships because then they introduce you to their other collector friends. And
Yeah, absolutely. I think at art fairs, there's that initial introduction not only to collectors but curators and other artists who go to these fairs and try to get you to go see their work and other booths, and making the connection with other galleries and seeing if there's a way to get your artist shown at their space and vice versa. There's certain collectors that they really like what you do. You maybe haven't actually sold them anything, but they tout your gallery as like, lots of other things happening, and then they tell their collector friends, and that kind of builds that relationship. Just as artists who you work with tell their friends, other artists, or tell you about people they know and respect, it creates this network.
Once again, any questions out there?
Yeah, what's
Stacey.
the most annoying but yet common thing that artists do, like the way that they present themselves to you?
It's a really good question.
well, when they fly in on their canvas through the door, this has happened.
Did you have
Wait,
that last
fly
week?
in on
Like
their
they have their canvas and they just walk in the door with it. They like sail in with it and they say, "Hey, look." It's kind of annoying when you're on the phone.
Did
or
that happen to you
meeting.
both last week?
I had someone come in last week. The woman was representing her brother.
I wasn't.
Yeah, it's
With
crazy.
the canvas?
Well, it was like a sculptural light thing, and he.
But with
You don't do that. You don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, I've had. Yeah, people come in with work. That's pretty annoying.
When they demand for us to see the work on the spot, and they don't ask like, "Do you have a moment even?" or "Can I make an appointment?" They just expect that, of course, you'll look at it. That's really annoying, and it's usually so distasteful that you don't want to look at it.
Yeah, half the time if I'm caught off guard, I'll just do it real quick and get it out of my hair. But seriously, because how often is someone going to come in with the most amazing thing? Maybe hasn't happened yet. But otherwise, I say, what's that?
To anyone.
No. So far.
Yeah, I don't anyone that's ever happened.
There's a young artist from the Art Institute that he probably went to many galleries, and I loved his work on the spot.
Did you?
Yeah.
Who was it?
I
Oh, okay. Huh.
So yeah, I think 1% maybe. But it's
Usually-
worthwhile to show slides. Just maybe sending instead of.
What I'll tell people if they come in, they really want to show me something right away, I'll often just say, you need to make an appointment, but actually first I'd rather you send me images or point me to a website. I'll take a look. Call me later, because I'm always forgetful and don't call people back. So if they call me and get me on the phone, then I'll tell them either, yeah, let's make an appointment to meet, otherwise, thanks, but it's just a fit or just knocks sense in my mind.
And when they send you things, what do you want to see? I mean, not in terms of the work, but
Right.
like what kind of information and all of that do you need?
It depends on the artist, if it's flat work or video or CDs. It doesn't matter too much. Whatever they feel is the best way to represent what they do, I think that's fine. I think, though, that a lot of times I get work from artists who haven't a clue what the gallery does, or they just sort of out of the blue. I get a lot of emails from all across the world saying, show my work. I think I'm a strong fit, and we would do great together. It's like, no, thank you.
But
Thanks
do you
for
want
your
them to
interest.
send you their resume and their artist
Certainly,
statement
yeah.
and
Certainly, I want
something
to
else,
see
or-
everything that's relevant, like the resume, a statement if necessary, or reviews if they have them. Generally, they don't because they're right out of school or something. A good sample of work, and that's pretty basic. I think.
Good documentation. It's really helpful.
Have you ever actually shown somebody that came in just to look at your work, given them, let's say, a summer show?
Well, when I first opened, this one artist did come in, and I love his work, so I do show him. Ryan Scheit.
Yeah.
Ryan Scheit.
Okay,
Local
so
artist.
one person actually made it through on that level.
Yeah, and I think it was the timing that, I was just opening and he was looking for a space, and he probably went to multiple galleries, but we had, it just was a good click at the
Did
moment.
it maybe with the slides, or did you just look at the slides or the documentation and you didn't get back to the person?
Yeah, I actually looked at the work before, the physical work too.
How about you?
Actually, Neil Whitaker had this guy. This was back at the old space. Sent us stuff. We were curious about it because it was a lot different then, because Tim and I would make decisions on what we were going to do. In fact, I would pick somebody, then he would do something. We kind of take those as, it's your turn to do the show. It's your turn to do the show. And this guy Neil sent us stuff, and then he would keep coming back all the time and send us more stuff and call us, really bug us. And after a while, we started paying more attention to it. And after a long discussion, I said, yeah, let's give it a shot. So that's sort of one of our first sort of moving outside of Chicago in terms of showing people. So it's not, it can happen.
Yeah.
I think, though, with the young gallery it's a lot different now. I don't know if I would do it now.
How many solicitations do you get?
I could probably get about 3 or 4 packets a week and about 3 or 4 emails a day.
How's that you?
So,
So, and it's different now, so, Amy, you wouldn't, it's
well, it's different now just because
less
I've been
likely.
around longer and I'm a little more aware of how everything works and what I need to do to make a living. And it's hard to take chances on people unknown without, it's got to be really stellar. It's got to have, we were talking about this a little bit earlier before we walked in here, but do you have the power, perhaps the backing, either financially or otherwise, to really take someone unknown and really focus on them and make them something big or successful for yourself and for them? Or do you, for me anyways, I don't take as many chances as I used to,
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
When you said you know what it takes now to make a living, what does
Like,
it take?
I wish I
mean,
know a
you
little
have a
better.
better idea.
Yeah.
Let's say you have you don't know specifically, you have a better idea. What is it? What's
What
that
is
better
it?
idea
What's-
consist of?
What's the formula? What's the solution? Well, I listen more to what's going on, like what the press is on people.
Mhm.
I listen to other dealers more. I listen to collectors more. And instead of trying to impose my will on the world, saying, well, you got it all wrong, this is the best thing going, it's a little more of a compromise and give and take. And one thing about being in Chicago I think is really great. I have access to artists who show in New York, LA, or elsewhere that if I were in those towns I wouldn't have access to. And so I can bring people here who already have, a career or starting one, and we can work together. And, I can have a part. They can be a part of what I do, and vice versa. And that way we can all grow. And it'll give me more opportunities as time goes down the road to.
I had a personal question.
Oh, yeah.
And your space was the first kind of testing storefront space down in space that I got to visit in Chicago out here in 98. So that did a big impact on me. It was close to possibly.
Can you speak a little bit louder, Jack? Because I don't think
Sorry.
they can hear you.
I had a personal question for Tony, and I had to qualify with some personal tangents. To say Tony's space was the first space I visited in Chicago. That was a storefront, kind of domestic gallery space that was done purely out of love for it. And I had a kind of big impact on me in 98 when I got here. That block in Chicago is one of the really important things for other reasons to get records and what they do. But when I see what's happening to their store now, it's kind of a tchotchke place, like a higher tchotchke place. That's really frustrating, and I just really respect the transition you made from what you were doing there to what we do now as a commercial space. I feel like Chicago lacks a lot of good commercial spaces and has a really good foundation of what you were doing before. But I feel like people need to make that transition coming forward. So ultimately, this is thank you and I respect that. But I'm wondering what your kind of ultimate ambition as a gallerist.
Well, again, we were talking about this before, but my situation is, I'm recognizing what the potential of the gallery can be, or starting to, and how, just as a person in the world, how can I become more successful? Like, I want to be able to live outside of my gallery. I'd like to own a new car instead of the 89 Colt that I drive. It's like, there's a lot of things you can do for love, and you can do it for the rest of your life, but at some point, you're just tired of being poor. And, I'm trying to find a way to go beyond that. And I'm trying to yet maintain the reputation of the gallery and the artwork that I show, and do what I believe is good stuff. So I'm trying to find that place. And I think it can be done in Chicago, but I'm not opposed to taking it on the road in New York or LA or somewhere else. It's just a dream right now, but who knows? I mean, I think Donald Young and there's a couple of guys that I respect that have made a name for themselves and they can be anywhere and they're fully at the top of their game. I really admire and respect that, and I'm good for myself. So I'm just trying to find a way to put it all together.
Maybe we can go back to Julia and you could address some of those. I think there's two questions, one that I had and one Jack posed, which is what you think it takes to make your gallery successful. And I think you were saying you guys were talking about this earlier.
Well, I think I was talking to her.
Oh,
She was
okay.
listening.
Or if you have some greater ambition beyond, well, I assume you do, but what that ambition
Well,
is.
no, I feel like I'm in the gallery business for the long haul. I mean, I'd love to be able to, like Tony said, survive in the business and have the artists that I work with survive and maintain careers as artists. I think that's really the primary goal, is that we want to be part of this. And we're really lucky to be part of the art world anyways, but we want to be able to, to maintain our careers. So that's the priority, and the ambition is really just to kind of expand with that in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning to do more art fairs, to grow with the artists, and to have maybe represent more artists eventually.
And maybe for the people who don't know much about art fairs, you could explain why you would want to do more and what comes from that in the many diverse ways that things come
Mhm.
from it.
Well, ARCO in Madrid was the first international fair that I've done, And basically, it gave us access to curators and collectors and the public in Europe that may not be in Chicago or New York or LA. So it really broadened and expanded our contacts, and potential for sales is great, and it leads to a lot of opportunities with galleries and just the general public and artists that you might meet during that time. And it's also extremely fun to hang out with your colleagues in the field, and you're in Madrid and hanging
It's all
out.
business.
It was. I was surprised. It was like, I mean, it's just great. You're really, there's a lot of different contacts to get to know other curators and dealers.
You've done several different kinds of
Yeah,
art fairs, Tony. Maybe
a
you
little
could.
more reckless, I think, in my doing fairs. I did a really terrible fair in Mexico City last year. But yeah, I think like dollar for dollar in terms of money would spend perhaps in advertising and travel. It's the best way to get exposure for your program, and it's much. I think a one-on-one meeting with somebody for the first time is 100% better than a quarter page in art form for me. The results are much more tangible, direct. And then it's a matter of picking fairs, I think, that are showing galleries that are similar to yours, because it'll bring more people who are interested in what you do as a group to them.
So I disagree with that, because I think at ARCO we kind of stood out because there were a lot of traditional Spanish galleries, and then the contemporary niche where we were was.
But my point is, there was 27, maybe 100 of us in the group of 270 total. So the group was a good group.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where we wouldn't do Monaco antiques in art fair.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Right? 'Cause
Still
there's no one
contemporary.
else. Yeah.
I'm going to check in with you guys again. Andres.
Well, as you start out, I mentioned this conceptually or idea where there's been a lot made about the depth of criticism and things like catalog essays disappearing as tools that dealers would use in the market. I'd be curious to know what each of you are thinking about the role of criticism or some role of criticism.
Well, it's definitely important to have criticism regarding the shows that we have or the artists that we work with. Personally, that's not my focus because I'm more driven by searching for the artists and the market side of it. But I think it's important to contextualizing what we do.
Is it, for you, is it just a unnecessary, it seems like, well, probably before my time, it seems like criticism was like part of a necessary component of how the market works.
It helps. I mean, it's if you can use it as a tool, definitely.
But you can circumvent it.
I'm sorry?
You can
Sounds like
circumvent
you're
it.
suggesting that you can circumvent it.
No, I think it's really important to have it to kind of supplement packages or to utilize it. And it's part of the greater art world, so it's definitely important.
It's one thing when you hire somebody to write a catalog essay or to promote basically what you're doing. It's another thing for people who want to write to come and write and pick whatever they want to write about and just do it. And part of our job is to try to get people in to see it and write about it because it helps the artist, helps us, everything. Hopefully, if it's a positive review. But I don't feel like I really have a whole lot of control over how criticism is used or what happens. I mean, unless I actually pay somebody to write something for me. The only thing I've got is like the press release and something that someone wanted to say. It's a critic, so I don't know if it's well, I don't know if it's dead necessarily, but I don't pay as much attention to it than I used to when I was in school, because I think when you're in school, it's just like that's all you talk about. Well, you're talking about the work, but you're talking about the response to the work and the written word about it, so it's different.
One thing you were saying earlier, Tony, I think, was that you're learning more about what people are interested in, and you're not you're maybe understanding that maybe you don't need to go out and say, I've got the best thing for you, and convince them that you've got the best thing. But I'm interested in the question of what interests you're serving. So do you think that you understand that you become more familiar with collectors and you understand what they want, and so you're able to bring things
Hear what
to
I
them?
do, yeah.
Or are you trying to bring new things that they may not know about or not? Because it sounded like you were saying the first before.
Right, like I'm just gonna see what you like and then I'll bring it to you,
Mhm.
and then do a show
Yeah.
for that. You know, collectors I mean, the things that we all hang on our walls are the things that we want to have, the objects around us. It's a wide variety, and I think that, you know, it's a tough call between what you feel is necessarily the most important thing and what other people feel is the most important. And so there are certain galleries I think that can work, you know, once they establish a program that is really really concise. In fact, you know, that all the work really shares with each other and can make these things to go around. And then there's the galleries like mine. I think I pick and choose. Like I have so many different interests because I have so many things around me. And I find my own personality just to be kind of scattered. So I feel like that, you know, I can bring in things that appeal to one and that other people totally hate, and vice versa. Yet I feel very confident about. And there's many. I don't feel like I'm necessarily saying, okay, well, I'm going to bring this artist in that I don't like because I know I can sell it to this other person. And like when I go to see fairs, I look at work that I would personally love to have and have, you know. I see work that I know certain collectors would really like. And if that's the case, I tell them, you know, you need to check out so-and-so's gallery and this particular artist. It's no one I'm going to work with, but I think you might like it. And so it's just it's hard to put my finger on where that works as being it's this way or that way.
Right, I think maybe one of the qualities of that kind of a conversation about this topic would be whether the market is a single entity or if it's made up of many individual people with many different tastes. And I mean, I know that there are different kinds of people that you sold artwork to. I walked into your gallery one day and you told me that there was a guy who owns a restaurant who came and bought 3 paintings or something. Right? That's what you told me.
When does what do?
I think it was Deanna. But there are different people with different tastes.
Sure.
And different interests in how much they want to buy or how often they want to buy, right? I mean, maybe you could talk a little bit about the different qualities of your interactions with people who are purchasing works from you. Just so people can get a sense of the differentiation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it really varies from, you know, the random person walking in and just buying the work because they love it, but they know nothing about art, perhaps. Like, I was working at another gallery once, and I sold a Rufino Tamayo mixograph for $50,000, and they had no idea who Rufino Tamayo was. So, I mean, that was just kind of an impulse buy, and someone could obviously afford it. But that happens once in a while, but it's really the collectors who you maintain relationships with, and you know, you're into their mindset, and you discuss art on an ongoing basis. You know, if you see something that maybe an artist that you don't represent, and just like Tony said, you just send them to check this out because you think it's exciting, and they're going to think it's exciting maybe. So it's just sharing resources and kind of trying to figure out their vision and kind of work with that. And sometimes you're introducing the artist to the collector, which is another, you know, it's a great relationship. It's more educational, and then they start to understand the artist, and maybe it takes years before they'll get it or perhaps collect it or not, but it's an ongoing correspondence about it, discussion.
I'd be interested to hear you talk a little about the balance between installation and multimedia and the things that you show. Work on the wall that's probably easier to market.
Well,
Walk
actually,
out with.
Yeah, I think that media work is just, there are collectors who collect media-based work, so it's just as viable commercially. And I've sold work that is intangible, for much more than I've sold paintings, actually. So it does work. It just depends on the collector and the collection, like some corporations, perhaps, or like we sold a internet work to Sprint collection, and it was a really big commission, but it was very specific to their collection also. So things like that do happen.
I'm less involved, I think, in the installation and video and certainly web stuff. I think, like, tell me if I'm wrong, I think you're working with a lot more museums because of your history. You started off that way. And, well, I come more from, like, as an artist, and then very much brick and mortar, it's all on the wall. Or it's, and certainly things have changed for me from being the installation space that the original bodybuilder was to what it is now. And I just haven't found, for me, I haven't been able to sell that or interest people in the works, video types of installation type of stuff, maybe as much as Julia has. But that doesn't mean it's less. I mean, there's much more people with, who are interested in flat work and objects than there are people interested in videos and the like. So it's, I just haven't quite found that for me to work out as much. So.
I have one question. You can add that just because of the sheer physicality of your space and not just the parameters of your space. I was interested as far as then maybe your ambition or your relationship to parameters of the space, which in some ways is the effective control vector. And that's what really your space to any type of work. So you have like an ideal space.
Oh, do I have?
Operate out of just the sheer physicality of the parameters of the space. Make sure that the dream space would be.
Well, the MCA is really nice. Move all the walls around and set up any sort of dark room and totally insulated. So, we were trying to do this video installation next month, but we can't do it because we've got that big column. And to get access to the project room and to do a video in the main space, it was impossible. I had to build, we figured, 45 feet with the wall and separate the office and the light. It was really, really difficult. So that affects what I can show, but yeah. Well, if you come at an angle, there's the office, and then you make these little sound barriers from the door. I'll show you the
Since he talked about the space, I know, Julia, you have a very specific interest in the role that the space plays. So maybe talk a little bit about that.
How could I turn on the light?
Went to sleep.
Yeah, when I first opened the space in 2001, I was working with a friend of mine who's an architect, and he helped me design the space so we'd have flexibility. So here's a floor plan. And it was really important to me to be able to accommodate different kinds of work. So, like, there are a few movable walls, like this one and this one. Oops, sorry. And so that the lines delineate the walls that open and close, which is just helpful in terms of creating more space. And there's also storage behind the walls. And then this railing also comes off, so for instance, we had a Jennifer Reeder sculpture video sculpture here without the railing, so it just functioned as a nice platform for the sculpture. So I was just very interested in keeping it a dynamic space that could change according to the show.
Are there limitations that you found once you're in the space and you've used it?
I kind of adapt the space per show, so I try not to have limitations. I guess if someone has a huge installation, it might be difficult to bring in, but I was going to show a few shots of the space. Sorry. And I was also concerned about wiring for video, so like we wired in the ceiling, we put some wires for our internet and video work that could possibly be used someday. And here's an example of a show that we transformed the space a lot. The artist really wanted the red walls. So I enjoy that discussion with the artists on like how to set up the show and how the gallery might conform to their work and adapt.
Hey, Julia, I didn't know you were showing Mark Swanson. How did you first come into contact with his work? I've been following his work for a few years.
It was basically through maybe his show at Bellwether a few years ago, his first solo show. And actually I was very interested in Johann Ziederquest's work, and I met him last summer in Berlin, and I was researching about him, and I realized that he had a show with Mark Swanson 10 years ago, and they became like best of friends, so I thought it would be fun to bring them back together to have a show together.
Yeah, it's just interesting because he has no formal art education at all. Has none. I mean, he went to Scandinavia. He's older and worked for Marcus Stewart.
Well, he went to Bard.
He went to
also,
the Bard
right?
MFA program.
He never had undergrad. He doesn't have undergrad.
Yeah.
So he just kind of inserts himself.
Yeah, that show opens March 5th.
To what degree, given the discussion about your spaces, do you direct the installation? Is it the artist's call to do the installation? How do you negotiate that?
Well, there's a lot of trust. When you invite an artist to show and let's say they don't actually have the physical work yet, then you're kind of trusting that it's going to work out. And so I really cherish that discussion on how it's going to work, and it's really a dialogue. So it's not that they, are imposing their vision. It has to be this way. It's not that I'm imposing my vision. It's really this kind of symbiotic relationship for the show, and that's one of the best parts of the job is really just being part of that. And I'm pretty hands-on, so I really like to be part of that.
Have you hung an exhibition without the artist present? Solo show?
Yeah, actually one two photography-based shows. The artists were not there.
Yeah, my history with the School of the Art Institute as the director there was really to help artists to answer their questions but let them do what they want. And that kind of came over to what I'm doing now, where people come in and they say, okay, I want to do this, this, and this. And I was like, I just tell them what problems might be and see if they might have a solution to it. But then also, since I'm there every day, I can tell what works better and what doesn't with some of the placement of works, and so I'll make suggestions and so forth. But no, I don't necessarily say it's this way or that way. This is what do you want to do? Let's see. And like we're talking too about how you give an artist a show not knowing what's going to be in the show, versus a lot of galleries who say you have to have the body of work ready to go. It's a show, or it's not a show based on what you're showing, what you already have done.
Other questions?
Do either of you have any formal business training, and if not, how does that work out with running galleries, since it's pretty much a business? What is it?
Well, I took a few business classes, and I was actually considering going back for an MBA, or I don't know, I was just thinking about it, but I'm actually much more interested in working in the field. So I feel like I have some advisors who help me with some business decisions, and maybe I have a little knowledge about it, but it's the kind of business that you can create yourself. It's not like being a lawyer or a doctor, or it's not a huge retail business that you need a lot of the expertise that you would learn in business school.
Yeah, I have no experience. And I could totally use a good year off just taking business classes, but just wing it, which is it's problematic sometimes. But yeah, I was just learning as I go.
Do you think that's typical, like, for most galleries, or most
I
galleries
think-
business training now?
Not necessarily. I think a lot of people who run galleries work with other galleries before as directors or some way connected, and so they know how the system works. They may not necessarily know all the accounting procedures of this, that, but they have a good handle on what needs to happen when, and these types of things. And if they're smart, yeah, they can take.
There's a good number of gallerists who worked in other professions as lawyers or investment bankers prior to, they got into collecting and then they just started to open a gallery. So they have a whole other set of experience that maybe they need to, they get in as collectors to learn more about the art and then they start a gallery. They're out there.
And I'm sure with Tony too, I mean, we have friends or colleagues who help us with certain business questions, or lawyer friends, or maybe. I mean, because we certainly can't figure it all out on our own, so.
And I just call everyone I know. It's like, have you ever dealt with this? And what's the solution here? And what's your recommendation? I don't know what to do next with this. People are always willing to learn advice. So.
I have another question if nobody else has a question. I'm going to let you guys go first. No? You're both relatively young as galleries, and you both described searching for artists, but do you see some near horizon where you're going to have too many artists that you're representing? And what's your, if that's true, what kind of plan do you have to deal with that?
Well, gee, glad you asked that question. I'm in that predicament right now. And, I'm always seeing new stuff, and I always want to bring in new things because I'm excited about it. Yet I have a commitment to people. Nothing's in writing, but it's like I often befriend the people I work with, and it's hard to make decisions about who's going to show next, or how long it's going to be between their next shows, or any of that kind of stuff. And so I haven't been able to figure it out yet. I'm kind of postponing making some decisions until probably April after Armory the next show opens. But I got to plan ahead next year, and that'll help me figure it out. I don't know how it's going to work itself out, but it's one thing to be really committed to a dozen people and really work hard for them, and it's another thing to have 24 people on your list and say to those other 12 perhaps that, I'd love to have your work, I'd love to have it around, but I can't give it the attention and time that's necessary to really help promote into with their careers. And people are free to do whatever they want. I mean, the artist is ultimately the one in control because they're the ones who make the work, and they're the ones who make the decisions about whether they're going to stick with somebody or move on to the next person or do whatever. So.
Is that the situation you're in, 12 and 12? Or
no, I'm trying to decide because, I probably have, upwards of 20-some odd people that I've worked with or work with or still have work in the back and that I would love to do something with still, yet, there's another 5 or 6 that I want to bring on too. And it's, I'm either going to have to, whatever, I haven't figured it out.
How about you, Julia? Is that an issue for you, or is it a ways down?
Well, I think there's a lot of variables that go into the relationship with the artist. So it's, timing might be such that an artist has some other opportunities, and so it's just kind of fades a little bit. But also, I hope to have more people working with me so I can handle more artists, and it's a gradual progression.
You mean staff? People on staff. Right.
I think that would help because it's really a commitment, and you need to be very responsible about, if you're working with an artist, you need to be responsible with the communication to whomever, to collectors and museums. And such. So really, to get too big and you can't handle it is really tough. I'm not really in that position, but just because I kind of have a small group of artists that I work with right now. But yeah, hopefully I will expand. And
Is there some sort of like expectation? Like if you show an artist, are you saying you're expected to show them again? Or like they sign on to you and then they can't do anybody else until they notify you? Like I don't understand.
It's
why
everybody's
that's
different. Everybody's different.
So you just feel like you should continually take care of the people you bring on.
Yeah, in some ways, I think they rely on me to a certain extent for what, I have a place people can go and see their work. It's the website or it's physically there.
That actually leads into a question I have, because I think there are artists that it's pretty clear that you represent them,
Yeah.
right? And that's the word that people would use to say that they represent them. But I wanted to have you guys just kind of explain what represent means, what it is, whether that you see that relationship as working with or for the artist, and what does it entail? Obviously, there's communications and sending out packets, but there's a whole, there's like a job description almost for what representation means, right?
yeah, well,
So what would that be?
every artist has different set of needs, really. So just to be able to accommodate what the artist may need at a given time, and it shifts throughout their career. So to be able to just discuss it along the way and move with it as it changes is really important.
Give us an example so they get an idea.
Yeah, sorry. if
This
that sounds
person at this
obscure.
point in their career, they need this. or
Well,
something.
I mean, at certain times, like an artist might just have a lot going on and need someone to manage several exhibitions, to be the contact person for several different clients or museums or something like that. So,
We had Jason Saladin and Helen Mira here together, and Jason has 5 galleries. And he was talking a bit in his presentation about how he likes to deal with institutions directly. He wants to back away from, he doesn't want the gallery communicating. He wants to do a lot of it himself, so it gets kind of crazy or chaotic. But in what you're describing is that in other situations, you'll do a lot of that communication.
yeah, it
for
really
the
depends
artist.
on the personalities involved, and if the artist wants to do that and to be the front person, that's his prerogative, and it's great. Jason's very proactive about his career, and he has time obviously or something to be able to do that, and he's good at it. But some artists really don't like to discuss their work on that level, and they just feel that someone else, like a dealer or another manager or agent would be better. So it just depends.
I still have a question about the idea of being represented by a gallery or working with a gallery. Is that usually based on it's just a conversation? Like, oh, I want to be a representative, okay, or is there actually a contract involved? Or I don't have a problem myself, but I've tried to imagine the situation, and so I'm just kind of wondering what goes on around, what's the difference between being represented, working with, or having a relationship, and all the other terms that get thinking about in these conversations.
Well, I don't have any written contract with anybody. It's purely verbal. But the contracts I have seen that have come from Chicago are things like, okay, anything within 90 miles of Chicago is, you have to have the gallery's name on it. Any sales that happen, you have agreements about sales out of your studio perhaps, or any of that kind of stuff. And so if you lay down these sort of rules, and if someone goes, you break the rules or something, then you have to have this discussion. I'm more of, because I have so many people that I'm working with, and it's just me, if they want to be with me and I want to do a thing, then let's do that. And we'll go piece by piece. And I'll have artists that ask me to follow up on framing questions and follow up with somebody on this and on that, and I'll do that. But I have artists who want to forge relationships with other galleries elsewhere, and I kind of look at it, if I do the work with them, for them, on a project, then I want to be represented somehow, either in the title or the byline of things, or percentage of if there's a sale, that type of thing. But if they do all that work, that's great. If they want me to be listed on there, I welcome it. If they don't, I understand, because I have nothing to do with it.
What do you think, John? No contracts or contracts?
Well, I think contracts are important. I think that initial discussions with artists are more important, so people get a sense as to whether they are interested in a contract. I mean, some cultural, there's cultural differences. Like there's an artist from Japan that I work with, and everything was in writing and really needed to be in writing, and everything about the show was defined like months before, and so it's very, very, very specific to Junya instead of
In very polite terms.
Yeah, exactly. So, you just work with according to the situation.
But contracts not only protect the gallery, but they also very often protect the artist.
Yeah.
It seems to me like they're a good idea. I talk to so many galleries who think, oh, I don't know.
I think they're a good idea to set things straight and to have it clear, documented, and they can change. I mean, we do have some contracts for 2-year representation, and then it lists what that means, so they know what we're doing, and we know what they're expecting. So.
I think consignment forms for shows, like a 90-day sort of contract, can work reasonably well, because you define who's paying for shipping one way or the other, or for splitting it. If there's framing involved, who pays for that? Some sort of production costs. Who pays for that up front? Who gets reimbursed later if this work doesn't sell? Does the artist reimburse the gallery after the 90-day period? All these kinds of things. I just do it via email, phone conversation. Rarely do I actually sign something, but occasionally we'll get a fax, or if you work with another gallery, these things are discussed, and it's like a 6-point, 1-page thing. You just sign it. So.
Except they're not written in a 6-1-page document. They're done verbally, and then when it comes time to write the check comes out in a different number than you expect, and you got nothing to write.
Well, it's really tough with contracts, because even if you do have a contract that's signed by both parties with another gallery and something happens to the work in transit, or if it's a consignment form with a museum or a loan form, and something happens, rarely, I mean, you can't sue them if they don't pay for it. So, I mean, you
can't,
could,
it's not worth it.
but yeah, I mean,
Right.
it will be this really high-profile suing them, and it could turn out badly for the artist and the gallery. So a lot of times the gallery ends up just not discussing it, and I think that's so. Then it kind of makes the contract obsolete. It doesn't really do anything. It's good to have clarification, but legally, it's rarely used. As far I think on the level that I'm at, anyways, it's rarely used. I think once you get to a more established level, it's pretty important.
Yeah.
Often I think though with maybe with people that are in this crowd, younger artists, they'll have a show in a space and then they'll wander around confused about their relationship with the gallery. What would you recommend that they do?
Ask questions. I mean, what does this mean to have a show? Is it a temporary thing? Is it something we want to pursue and have another show eventually? And if so, when? Perhaps. Yeah, I think it's a lot of stuff is unspoken and assumed, obviously, all the time. And you need to define your situation. What's that?
Just like dating.
Hey.
I think actually Helen and Jason were talking about their galleries as romantic relationships.
Really?
I see it as like family relationships, not romantic.
Contracts in the family.
Well, they become, extended family in a sense.
In the best of worlds, that's the way it is. You don't want too much going on.
Yeah.
But sometimes if things happen pretty rapidly,
Yeah. I've heard all
that
kinds
whole
of stories.
concept of family gets thrown out of the window.
Yep.
Yeah.
Andrea Rosen and John Curry. Let's just talk about that one. Because-
Well, that's a bit extreme, I mean, you go to Peter Halley on that too. I think, only 2 people get elevated.
Yeah.
I thought it was sad.
City Sherman still with Metro Pictures, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
such a, that's great.
If you look at some, it depends on the deal. Somebody like Call of Duty, artists are married to the music for like 25 years. It's a beautiful relationship.
There's any last questions? Okay.
I'm gonna kind of backtrack back to how you kind of look for artists. Do you, like, let's say an artist just comes out of school and sends you slides and you're saying, well, that has some possibilities, but I'm just not ready to show them yet. Do you kind of keep your eye on artists and see how their work progresses over the next few years and see where it goes? And if they're still producing a strong body of work, they're still keeping at it, and you say, well, they're obviously dedicated, and I'm starting to like to see what direction their work's going. You kind of, basically, if you keep your eye on certain artists, like that are just really emerging, they're just starting out, they're trying to get represented, and you kind of monitor basically.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah.
It's great to get updates.
So if you've seen an artist that kept, like, maybe every year that they're coming up with a new body of work, you're not representing them, but they keep producing, you keep them in the back of your mind. Ever, or
Oftentimes,
just,
I
like,
think those artists will have a show in a smaller space or.
yeah, like a co-op or something.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
especially, like, what do you think of co-ops? Do you ever like I don't know, you ever find stuff there that?
I think I find stuff anywhere, so
Yeah.
it's really important just to show, to get it out
Yeah,
there,
exactly.
document it.
Apartment shows, all that stuff. It's harder though. I honestly don't go see as many as I used to. So.
Exactly, because you're
But
more,
I mean,
you're
but
more
it's-
established now, but like probably a gallery in its infancy would like try to find new work, and maybe co-ops are a good place to.
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
kind of
that's
like
fine.
what you started out as in a way.
Well, I guess so. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. But when you send that resume, and every year you send a new one, and it's got
Yeah.
3 more shows on it, even if they're all apartment shows, maybe someone a friend of yours wrote a review for an online magazine, whatever, it's all there,
Mhm.
and it kind of, just the volume of the words kind of adds to
Yeah,
the fact that
as long as
you're being, you're still working, and you're very intent on doing your work, and it shows, and I think that commitment helps. a lot.
Yeah,
I
as
think a
long
lot
as
of
you
people
seem
give
like the
up.
resume grow and they're pretty active, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's good.
Maybe we should wrap up. But both of you guys think that you want to do this for the long haul, the rest of your life, right?
Yeah, I hope so.
Yes, indeed.
The next
Hope it's
Paula
not, I don't have to
Cooper.
live there, that's all.
Well, thank you both for coming. And I think if you have questions that you didn't get to ask, you could probably ask them afterward. But thank you.
Thank you.